You've been scrolling on TikTok for hours and wasting your time, but you suddenly come across this one TikTok. It's a study motivation TikTok, and this person's boasting their good results and the glory that comes with it. And so you get this sudden burst of motivation. I want to be like that. I'm going to be like him. And so you sit down and study for a grand total of 10 minutes before you go back into the scrolling cycle. And you know this cycle all too well. Not studying, but not relaxing either. Stuck in this weird limbo. My friends ask me all the time, how do you get such good grades? How do you stay motivated to study all the time? And my answer is, I don't. And the simple reason that you can't study is that you can't make it part of your identity. And what this means is that you can't make it a consistent part of your life because you're relying on motivation. Motivation is like my dad. It comes and goes and you don't know when it'll be back.
Shut up.
That was really unfunny. But the reason you're failing all your exams is that you're waiting for motivation to come. You're waiting for it to give you that burst that you so need. The basis, the crux, the pinnacle of studying is that you make it consistent. And this form of repetition is in the definition of studying itself. And this consistency is what builds the knowledge. But it's like being pushed on a sledge when it snows. Who would you like to be pushed by more? Person 1 sometimes gives you a really big push and it feels great in that moment, but then you just sit there sometimes and you don't know when this next big push will come. You're left unsure and worried, but you need this big push to give you the joy, to give you the motivation. Or person 2 who will push you consistently, push you at a constant rate down the hill so you're always moving. And sure, it won't be as fun as the person who gets that sudden big push, but at least you're making progress. At least you can see yourself moving down the hill. And so the point I'm trying to make is that you shouldn't rely on motivation for studying, and this might be your biggest downfall yet. And instead, you should be focusing on study habits. And check out the video that I made before this afterwards, because that's my full habit guide. And the quick summary is that habits are infinitely stronger than motivation because you can control the cues, and it's like creating your own form of mini motivation. And what I talk about in my previous video is that habits are 4 steps: cue, craving, response, and reward. And because motivation acts as the cue and the craving, because you're motivated and you want to achieve this glamorous look that's been advertised to you, that acts as your cue and craving. It's good, but the only problem, the biggest problem is that you can't control it. However, if you make studying a habit by setting a time that you're going to study every day, to sprinkle textbooks around your house or leaving notes around, you can control it and make it a habit. And the reason that motivation is so unreliable is that it's based on so many factors that we can't know for sure which one it is. One day you might be feeling extremely motivated, and the next day you want to lay in bed all day for no good reason. Motivation is also based on our energy levels, which from time to time and day to day always is changing. So what can you do right now to always feel motivated and to always study? It's to change your surroundings and identity. Number 1, the biggest mistake that I've made for the longest time, and what you might not think is a problem, is that you're working and playing in the same environment. What does this mean? I use this computer that's in front of me for work and work only. But what I used to do is, I used to watch YouTube, play games, go on Discord on it. And so this computer, this station, was vague in my mind. It wasn't a place for learning, but it wasn't a place for playing either. And so right now what I'm doing is I only use this computer for work, and when I want to use Discord, watch YouTube, I do that on my phone in another room. And the reason for this is simple. Your brain isn't as developed as you think. It can't distinguish between a playing place and a working place. So you have to separate your things. Designate one place for one activity. And so when you sit down at this desk, your brain automatically knows, oh, it's time to study. And so you're way more likely to actually sit down and study. And this is because you've trained your brain to think, to associate this place with studying. It's like school. When you sit down at a classroom, when you go to a library, you unconsciously have this more focused state. And that's because the library, it's a place that your brain associates with quiet learning. And it's exactly the same. If you go to a party place or you sit in front of the TV, your brain automatically associates that with entertainment and makes you feel more relaxed, more lazy. And it doesn't matter whether it's a thing, a place, you have to make a connection in your brain to something. In this case, we want it to be about studying. So something you can do is that before you study, you always put on your headphones, and so then the action of putting your headphones in signals to your brain that it's time to study. By doing this, your brain associates certain locations and objects to the action of studying, so it'll be easier to focus. And the second one is changing your identity. This is a much bigger one than people tend to think it of as, because if you tell yourself that you can't focus, you're bad at learning, or I'm always going to fail anyway, how can you be good at studying, at learning? And it was always so confusing to me when I used to talk to people, they're always like, oh, I'm bad at drawing anyways, I can't focus anyways, I'm bad at maths anyways. But the thing is, why would you set this ceiling for yourself? You're capping yourself. You're bad at this anyways. So as much as you try, you're bad at it anyway. So you're creating this loop for yourself. You can't overcome this. You've set a ceiling for yourself. But why? You have to think of yourself as a student, as someone who can focus, as someone who can get all his work done in only 2 hours a day. And this is different to being arrogant, to be thinking that you're something that you aren't, because you're not creating this ceiling for yourself. You're letting yourself go above that. You're telling yourself, actually, you know what? I am this person. I am this person who can learn well. Changing your identity into someone who can do something will make it so you can do it. And the third and final one is to learn to look at the bigger picture. And arguably this is very hard, but you have to make yourself motivated at your future self. No longer is your motivation going to be from TikTok, from gym edits. You need to learn how to be motivated. And the reason you're here now and you're proud of something, whether it's your body or your physique, the fact that you can focus, the fact that you're not overweight, is that past you made these decisions. And although at that time they obviously weren't motivated for the fact that you're here in this state right now, you can start to think of it this way. Every decision you make, everything you do in life, it's a fork, it splits. And so every time you make a decision, you sit down and you decide to study, you're actively adding to the bank of your future self. Because humans look for direct progress and direct achievement. And so this concept of working and doing things for your future self is quite alien to us. But think of the future, think of your tomorrow self. Every action you do right now is impacting that, and so you should be motivated into making it so that your future self can be the best it can possibly be. And in conclusion, you need to change the systems that cause the results. When you solve problems at the results level, you can only solve them temporarily. In order to improve for good, you need to solve the problems at the system level. Fix the inputs and the outputs will fix themselves. I think that this is the most valuable lesson about studying that I can give you, and to stop relying on motivation, because when you can learn how to control it and change your surroundings and identity, this is when you can actually start to study effectively.